Across this country, a crisis. It's broken families.
I lost a nephew and a sister to this epidemic.
Destroyed lives and killed thousands.
The opioid crisis doesn't discriminate. It's hit here in Ohio especially hard, but the community in Dayton is fighting back.
A problem that impacts so many people that has no easy answer.
And I was just in excruciating pain all the time.
This week, we're looking at what's working and what needs to change in a coast-to-coast battle against addiction. This is The Race.
Welcome to The Race. I'm Chris Stewart. Opioids now kill more people than car crashes. They're the leading cause of accidental deaths in the United States, and that's why this week we have come to Dayton, Ohio. This is a city and a state where the opioid crisis has hit hard. It was known as the epicenter of this crisis just a couple of years ago. The local morgue was so full, the coroner had to rent trailers to get more space. But the city took a unique approach and bucked the trend, drastically reducing deaths in just 1 year.
Some of the drugs fueling this crisis are coming from trusted sources. Kai Beach shows us how one man's chronic pain turned to addiction.
This is what it was like every month when I went to the store.
Michael Kennedy knows all about coping with chronic pain.
That was MRSA that just jumped around my body.
While vacationing in Mexico, he fell off a third-story balcony, breaking his back, his pelvis, and both of his ankles. He would eventually have to have his right leg amputated.
They told me I was never gonna walk again. And I was just in excruciating pain all the time.
To numb that pain, doctors gave Kennedy a smorgasbord of prescription pills.
8 30-milligram oxycodone a day, 4 Dilaudid 8 a day, 4 morphine 60 a day.
Which led to an opioid addiction that almost caused him to take his life.
Thank God I was so banged up on pain pills that I nodded off to one side and my thumb hit the trigger and shot a hole in the ceiling, but missed me.
Now a team of medical professionals is conducting a study with the goal of helping people like Kennedy. Dr. Amy Wachholz of UC Denver has a goal of treating both chronic pain and opioid dependency together, and her colleagues are also looking for new ways to fight this epidemic.
So these are not illicit fentanyl and things off the street. These are prescription medicines that people are taking, and it turns out that they're pretty dangerous.
Dr. Narayana Verhabhatla with the UC Health Pain Management Clinic says prescribed opioids are responsible for about 40 deaths a day in America.
The problem is that we don't quite know how to fix chronic pain. So the word chronic pain can mean a whole lot of things. It really is a matter of kind of digging deep and see if you can find the problem and see if you can take care of the root of the problem.
And for Kennedy to finally recover, that meant combining his mind, body, and spirit.
To get out of this, I have to be taking care of myself. And Bikram's the best way that I've found.
I'm Kai Beach reporting.
Now, when it comes to what changes need to be made with the opioid crisis, you have to understand how we got here. It started in the late 90s. Pharmaceutical companies promised opioid painkillers would help patients without addiction risk. Doctors believed that and started prescribing opioids more often. That allowed abuse and misuse to spread quickly. In 2017 alone, opioid overdoses killed more than 47,000 people in the United States. That included all types of opioids, from legal prescriptions to street heroin and fentanyl. Now, when someone is addicted to opioids, it impacts more than just them, it impacts everyone around them. And one mom is sharing her emotional journey, now going on 6 years, and Nick Refrerzo has her story.
My son, Bob, was a drug addict. He died of a drug overdose January 29th, 2014, at the age of 29. Bob was the cutest little boy. He had white blonde hair and the biggest grin. He was the most easygoing kid to raise. He went to great schools in a great school district and had wonderful friends. It was after high school that the real trouble began. Bob moved in with some friends and somehow found out about Oxycontin. A friend gave them some that he stole from his mom or grandmother who had cancer. They continued to buy them from him and probably other people. It got to a point where they robbed a pizza delivery person and broke into someone's house to get the drug. This ended with Bob and some of his friends landing in jail. Bob did his time in jail and entered a rehab program. He was there a year and did good, but eventually went back to drugs. We all tried to help him. His great big world got smaller and smaller until it was just drugs. We miss him. We couldn't figure out how to save him. We aren't through this and never will be. While Bob's pain is over, our pain continues. Our guilt continues. How is it possible that with all of Bob's support, the people who loved him so much, we couldn't help him? If I could talk to Bob, I would tell him how sorry we are that we could not help him. And I would tell him about his candy tree. Bob loved candy. Everyone always told him he would regret it when he was older if he kept eating so much candy. He had the last laugh. Bob's grandpa made a candy tree in honor of Bob. It has baskets of all Bob's favorite candy hanging on it and a picture of Bob on top.
Another family knows this battle all too well. The former wife of a Columbine survivor who recently overdosed is making sure his message isn't forgotten.
Ready? Okay. My name's Austin Eubanks, and I was a junior at the time of the tragedy and 17 years old.
I met Austin when I was about 17. He was 19 then. We just clicked right away, and we had a lot of great times.
Eubanks knows Austin Eubanks the way few people did.
He was not so much as the person he was on TV. He wasn't so serious.
To the nation, he was a Columbine survivor, a dad, a national spokesperson on trauma and addiction. To just about everyone in the country, it seemed he had won his battle with addiction. I talked to Austin in April for a story marking 20 years since Columbine.
I turned to substances to cope. I thought that was the answer for me.
He told us his addiction started with the drugs that doctors gave him to treat his gunshot wounds to his hand and knee. Through years of addiction and darkness, he became a beacon to others.
I think it's really important that not only survivors of trauma, but survivors of addiction speak out and they share their stories, because you never know when your story is going to change the life of somebody else.
But in recent years, Ami suspected he was using again.
I believe there's always a fight. I don't believe that he was always using. I believe that was more recently. There was so much pressure put on him to be this perfect person in the eyes of the world that he didn't feel like he could actually go and get the treatment when he did go back to it.
Austin wasn't able to fully escape that darkness. In May, he was found dead in his home, the victim of an overdose.
I don't think addiction is something you can just stop struggling with one day. It's always a work in progress.
Ami knows the progress in the fight against the opioid crisis is too late for Austin, but she believes his life, all of it, will still help others.
His story and the power behind Columbine really put him front and center of the opioid addiction. He brought a complete level of awareness and helped so many people, he helped them shape their lives, and it just brought me tears of joy.
Now, there is a rush to stop people from becoming addicted to opioids, but next we're talking about recovery, an intimate journey through two different paths to getting clean.